There comes a moment in almost every person's life where they keep waiting. Waiting for confidence, waiting for certainty, waiting for the perfect sign, waiting for fear to disappear, waiting to finally feel ready. But what if that feeling never comes? What if the reason so many people stay stuck is because they've been taught to believe that readiness is something you feel, when in reality readiness is something you choose? Because the truth is, most life-changing decisions are not made from a place of comfort. They are made in the middle of doubt, in the middle of uncertainty, in the middle of fear, in the middle of not knowing exactly how it will all work out. And that is where most people hesitate. They think, once I feel more prepared, I'll start. Once I'm more confident, I'll move. Once I stop overthinking, I'll finally go for it. But that mindset can quietly steal years from your life, because if you keep waiting for a feeling called ready, you may keep postponing the very life you were meant to step into. And the craziest part is this: the people you admire, the people who built something meaningful, the people who changed their lives, started over, took the risk, launched the idea, left the old identity behind, most of them were scared too. Most of them did not feel fully ready. They just decided that being unready was no longer a good enough reason to stay the same. That's the shift. Being ready is not an emotion. It's not a magical wave of certainty. It's not some perfect internal alignment where fear vanishes and everything suddenly feels easy. Being ready is a decision to move before your feelings catch up, a decision to trust yourself before you have evidence, a decision to begin even while your mind is still listing reasons not to. And that decision changes everything. Because once you understand this, you stop treating fear as a stop sign. You start seeing it for what it often is: proof that you are standing at the edge of growth. A lot of people think fear means don't do it, but often fear simply means this matters to you. It means you're stepping beyond what is familiar. It means your old identity is being challenged. It means your comfort zone is losing control. And that can feel uncomfortable, even threatening, because the human mind loves what is predictable, even when what is predictable is painful. That's why people stay in draining routines. That's why they stay attached to outdated versions of themselves. That's why they keep delaying the business, the healing, the channel, the move, the conversation, the dream. Not because they are incapable, but because the unknown feels heavier than the dissatisfaction they already know. And yet your next level will almost always require you to walk into territory that doesn't feel emotionally safe at first. That's why waiting to feel ready can actually become a trap. Because feelings are inconsistent. One day you feel motivated. The next day you feel doubtful. One day you believe in yourself. The next day you question everything. If your actions depend only on your emotions, your life will keep moving in circles. But decisions are different. Decisions create direction. Decisions create movement. Decisions interrupt cycles. Decisions tell your mind, your habits, and your future. This is who I am now. That is power. And this is where people underestimate themselves. They think transformation happens when they finally become a different person first. But more often, transformation happens because they start making decisions that a different person would make. Read that again. You do not become confident and then take bold action. Many times you take bold action and confidence is built afterward. You do not become disciplined and then become consistent. You become disciplined by choosing consistency when it's inconvenient. You do not feel ready and then begin. You begin, and through beginning you become ready. That's how it works. Action is often what creates clarity. Movement is often what creates momentum. Obedience to the next step is often what reveals the step after that. But people want the whole map before they move. They want guarantees, they want certainty, they want proof. And life rarely works that way. Sometimes the path only appears after you take the first few steps. Sometimes the lesson only comes after you make the leap. Sometimes the strength you need is not something you discover in stillness. It's something you uncover in motion. That's why the decision matters so much. When you decide, you stop negotiating with every fearful thought. You stop treating hesitation like wisdom. You stop worshiping comfort. You stop asking your emotions for permission. And instead, you lead yourself. That is maturity, that is self-leadership, that is what separates people who dream endlessly from people who actually change their lives. Because let's be honest, there are people who have been almost ready for years, almost ready to start the channel, almost ready to leave the toxic environment, almost ready to take their gift seriously, almost ready to become who they know they are meant to be. But almost is one of the most dangerous places to live, because it feels close enough to progress that it keeps you comfortable, while secretly keeping you stuck. You can spend an entire season in preparation without ever stepping into purpose. You can keep researching, planning, journaling, visualizing, and thinking. But eventually there comes a point where the next breakthrough does not require more contemplation. It requires a decision, and that decision may be small at first. Maybe it's the decision to stop waiting for permission. Maybe it's the decision to post the first video. Maybe it's the decision to apply, to speak, to leave, to begin again. Maybe it's the decision to become serious about your own potential. Whatever it is, it starts the same way. You choose. Even before the fear leaves. Even before the confidence arrives. Even before the outcome is guaranteed. You choose. And once you understand this, you begin to see that many of the greatest moments in your life will begin long before they feel comfortable. The first day you start something meaningful may feel awkward. The first step into a new identity may feel unnatural. The first move toward your purpose may feel messy and uncertain. That does not mean you're wrong. It may simply mean you are in the early stages of becoming. And becoming is rarely graceful in the beginning. There is usually friction. There is usually doubt. There is usually tension between who you've been and who you are trying to become. That tension is normal. In fact, it is often a sign that change is actually happening. Because every new level asks for a death of familiarity, a death of excuses, a death of delay, a death of the old story that says, I'll do it later when I feel more sure. No, you do it when you decide your future matters more than your temporary discomfort. That is when your life begins to shift. And here's something even deeper. The decision to move forward sends a message to yourself. It says, I trust myself enough to begin. I no longer need perfect conditions to honor my calling. I am done measuring my readiness by my comfort. That kind of decision builds identity, and identity is everything. Because once you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through, someone who acts in faith, someone who moves with courage even while afraid, your entire reality starts changing. Not overnight, not all at once, but steadily. You build self-respect. You build inner proof. You build trust with yourself. And self-trust is one of the most powerful things a person can have. Because when you trust yourself, you stop collapsing every time doubt shows up. You stop needing every outside voice to validate you. You stop quitting the moment it gets hard. You stop confusing discomfort with misalignment. You understand that hard does not always mean wrong. Sometimes hard means real. Sometimes hard means necessary. Sometimes hard means you are finally confronting the part of life that cannot be transformed through wishing alone. It must be transformed through choice. And maybe that's the message someone needs right now. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign that it's time. Maybe you've been hoping to wake up one morning with zero fear, zero hesitation, and total certainty. But maybe the sign is this. You do not need to feel ready to become ready. You do not need emotional confirmation to take aligned action. You do not need full confidence to make a true decision. You just need the willingness to stop bowing to hesitation. Because your future is not built by the moods you entertain. It is built by the decisions you repeat, day after day, step after step, choice after choice. That is how lives change, not always through one giant dramatic moment, but through the quiet power of finally deciding, I am going, I am starting. I am no longer waiting for a version of me that has no fear. Because courage was never the absence of fear, it was movement despite it. And that is available to you right now. Right now. Even in this season, even with unanswered questions, even with imperfect timing, even with shaking hands, even with doubts still in the room, you can still decide. And one decision can alter an entire direction. One decision can end a cycle. One decision can introduce a new standard. One decision can become the moment your old life no longer has the final say. That's how powerful it is. So if you've been delaying your next step because you don't feel ready, understand this clearly. Readiness is not descending from the sky one day to tap you on the shoulder. It is not a mystical emotional state reserved for the lucky. It is built the moment you say yes before everything in you feels settled. It is built in motion, built in faith, built in practice, built in repetition. Built each time you refuse to let fear make your decisions for you. That is the real secret. Not everyone who changes their life feels prepared. But the ones who change it eventually decide that waiting is costing too much. And maybe that's where you are now. Maybe you are realizing that overthinking has become expensive, that hesitation has become exhausting, that delay has become its own form of self-betrayal. If so, then good, because that awareness can become a turning point. Let this be the season you stop asking, do I feel ready? And start asking, am I willing to decide? Because the answer to that question has the power to unlock everything. Your potential does not need another excuse. Your purpose does not need another delay. Your future does not need another year of almost. It needs your decision, your real one, your full one, your now one, not the decision to be perfect, not the decision to know everything, not the decision to never feel fear again, just the decision to move forward anyway. And once you do, something begins to happen. You realize you were never waiting for readiness. You are waiting for self-permission. And the moment you give yourself that permission, the energy shifts, the momentum shifts, the identity shifts, the life shifts. because now you are no longer standing at the edge hoping to feel different. Now you are becoming different through what you choose. So decide that this is the chapter where you stop postponing your own becoming. Decide that fear can come along for the ride, but it no longer gets to hold the steering wheel. Decide that discomfort is not your enemy. Indecision is. Decide that the life in front of you is worth more than the comfort behind you. And decide today that being ready was never supposed to be a feeling. It was always a decision. If this message resonated with you, join the community. Leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. Your journey of growth is just beginning. And remember, the person you're becoming is built by what you do today.